There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. Today this is the Board of Education facility meeting. It's Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, and I would like to call the meeting to order. The time is now 6:05. We have Colin Hostin and myself and other members. We do not have Cheryl Harris at this moment. So with that being said, the approval of minutes, we will table for now, Colin.
Works for me.
Okay, we'll table. If Cheryl comes back on, we will continue with that. So today we will be discussing the schematic phase of Cranberry Elementary School. We also have a couple of items on the Merrimack Elementary School and some miscellaneous project updates. So I am actually going to send this to Jim Giuliano to discuss the schematic phase of Cranberry Elementary School.
Thank you, Diana. Yes, so as everybody is aware, we started the design phase of Cranberry Elementary School, of which the first phase is the schematic design phase. We have, or the architects have completed that phase. And we are here tonight to present to you where we are in our progress. And also to note that tomorrow evening, we will be presenting our schematic design phase to the Cranberry PTO as well as School Governance Council. So if you want to join us tomorrow too, that'd be great. But tonight is, I guess, a preview of what is going to be presented for tomorrow evening. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Yates and Mike Lasasso for their presentation.
Thank you, Jim. Because we're presenting for the first time to some of the parents, I think some of you may have seen some of what we're presenting tonight, but we thought it would be helpful to put into context the historical process that we've followed. At this point, I'm just going to share the screen. And let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Terrific. And then I'm going to go to presentation mode, which is hidden behind my cursor. There we go. Terrific. All right. This is a summary of the points that we intend to discuss tonight. We'll talk about the pre-construction schedule, a historical recanting of the state grant application process and conceptual planning that we had for the project. This project was impacted by wetlands, and that was actually quite important relative to the surveyed delineation of those and the building placement. We'd like to review the development of the site plans and alternatives associated with that. We have, I think, arrived at a preferred site plan that we're continuing to develop. And then Lisa will review the building layout, and we'll discuss some design options that we're considering currently as we develop the exterior appearance of the building. So as Jim had mentioned, we delivered our schematic design documents for cost estimation. The estimate is due back at the early part of April, at which point we'll determine where we are relative to the initial concept budget. At that point, we'll prepare for our submission to the state for the schematic design review meeting, and then progress into design development, followed by construction documents, which we expect to conclude in the mid part of December. And then following that, there'll be another meeting with the state for the PCR review with the expected bid period in January or February of 2022. I included this slide because this actually describes the conclusion, if you will, of the grant application process. Our earlier concept scheme had located the building to the south of the existing school. The state had questioned the retention of the gym, which was part of the original recommendation for the concept. And so in relatively short order, we developed a quick scheme to show what the building would look like if we located it on the western side of the school. This layout offered a number of benefits, principally for the users of the school. We could retain the parent drop-off and bus loop and parking as they exist today, so the facility could remain in operation without real significant interruption while the additions were being built. This particular plan resulted in a slight increase in the budget cost. Norwalk and the Board of Ed accepted that additional cost to build the gymnasium new, and we continued to develop the plans further from this point. I included this graphic, which describes this is an excerpt from the survey that we have for the property, and these cyan lines actually show the actual flagged locations of the wetlands. The prior slide that I had, if I can back up here, no, I can't. The previous slide actually described wetlands that appeared to be closer than had been anticipated. So we were able to confirm through our soil scientist review that the building could actually fit on the western side quite comfortably. And we included these options just to show that there was a series of explorations. Each of these schemes describes the classroom portion, which extends north is up as the image is oriented. And so the classrooms extended northward. But the common spaces comprising the office spaces for the admin, the cafeteria, gymnasium, and, or I should say gymatorium. We've looked at multiple different configurations to address the needs of the end user. We had several meetings with the school principal and with Norwalk, and arrived at, ultimately we got option A, I think is the one that we developed further, which seemed to suit the best the needs of the school. This and the next plan actually show some alternatives to the site development. This particular configuration had the specific goal of getting as many parent drop-off cars off of Noah Lot Lane. When we visited the site at one of our meetings, we watched a dismissal, and both sides of the street of Noah Lot Lane were actually packed with parents. Even though this is not a heavily trafficked road, I guess by Norwalk standards, it did potentially represent a safety hazard. And so this scheme, by looping the parents northward and then across the eastern side of the building, actually provided a better drop-off configuration. This also modifies the current ingress on the eastern side of the site, south face, but eastern side of the south edge of the site. And we have a totally separated bus loop, which again supports the safety of the site. And then through conversations with the principal, we discussed the possibility of actually developing this as a bit of a plaza, along with secure outdoor play areas to the north, and reestablishing the tennis courts to the west. You'll notice too that we have the softball diamond located back in the loop that was configured for the parking. I'm sorry, for the drive. And so this is a further development of that particular plan. It shows more refined parking. The plaza is being developed. During the conversations, there was a request to potentially have. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard feedback there. We were looking at the possibility of even having some outdoor spaces, such as a potential amphitheater with a rear opening stage. And so that's this plan actually represents the current configuration of the site. You'll notice too the development over here on the right-hand side of the septic fields, and that has, as the ground has thawed, become an area that we're focusing heavily on. This is a unique aspect to the school, in that the utilities don't provide a sanitary sewer, so we'll have to reestablish the septic system, which currently is about 30 years old. And with that, I'll transfer this over to Lisa, who will take us into the greater detail of the interior of the building, and then review the exterior development as well.
Sure. So first of all, to sort of read these plans, we're rotating the building so it fits on the page, and north is to the right. But this, as Mike was saying, putting a new building on the site gives us the opportunity to start fresh and keep everything really clean. And we ended up with a layout that gives you some variety on the outside, but it's really very simple at its core. The classroom module that we were able to introduce is very similar. When we go upstairs, you'll see more of these same. Once you're in a classroom, you have sort of an equal experience, and it gives flexibility because we know the demographics of Norwalk, your student population is increasing. And for instance, right now we're showing potential for a music classroom to become a second grade classroom. And let me take you through the entrance and I'll show you more of that upstairs. So the entrance is set up as you have an entrance vestibule and a distinct exit vestibule. And like we are doing with other Norwalk schools, like you did at Ponus and as we're doing at Jefferson, the secure entrance, you come into the admin wing before you're released into the school. And the entrance is ballistic glass. There's a window, your security is right there. So it's all very centralized. The main lobby, we were able to expand it because it's serving not only the admin wing, but also the cafeteria and the gymnasium / performance space, which is great. We have all these sort of more civic functions that are, adjacent to this lobby, which can handle people as well. And this whole area is then able to be locked off from the rest of the school so that you can have nighttime events or, weekend events without, worrying about staffing the whole school. Receiving is also in this area and it's accessed from the south. As you go into this floor, we also have the Learning Commons Media Center in the center, which is an issue with the current building. We know it's small and it's been, Fox Run got an enlarged media center and they were unable to do it at Jefferson. So this is their chance. And we also, slight variance to classrooms on the right-hand side, the north side, because we have pre-K and the kindergarten are a little bit larger. But again, they're within one another, they're similar, and they all have toilets inside the classrooms. Mike, next slide, please. So upstairs, we have a smaller second floor, but you can see the same regular classroom module. And upstairs, we introduced the resource room and a science classroom that are the same size as a regular classroom. So if you have to expand a section, say for 5th grade, you could take the science classroom, or you could take the resource classroom for one of 3rd or 4th grade. Smaller spaces are typically resource oriented. We have English, ELL, English language learning on the right-hand side there is one of the bigger spaces. But these spaces too, we tried to keep them regular and maybe oversized. So if you have you need to do some shifting around in the future, you can. Again, this is a new building, so we were able to be really efficient. This is only interesting to us possibly, but we have the shaft is right above the mechanical room, is right, the toilets are all lined up, so it should be efficient and make it easier to build.
Lisa, let me interrupt you for a second. We can go back to the slide before.
Maybe hit the up arrow. That's
We
why
can go
not.
back.
He can. We just had to pop us out of presentation mode, right?
I just want to know something. Lisa just briefly just mentioned it, but I just want to just remind everybody, the school education program does not require a science room or the resource room. We did that on purpose so that there's flexibility, because sometimes the classroom grades doesn't line up exactly 3 sections. So what we did here, we provide 2 classrooms here. One is resource and one is science. We just called it that, but there's no specific program for it. So that gives the Board of Education the ability to be flexible when there's a certain grade, where let's say third grade needs 4 classrooms, then you have it next year become a 4th grade classroom. So yeah, we purposely did that so there's flexibility. So that's to say, and also I think at some point in the past there was discussion about this school may have a theme in the future. So environmental science was the suggested kind of theme, but at the same time, there's no confirm that we haven't confirmed that that's going to be any kind of education program or strategy. So again, I just wanted to everyone note that the science room and the resource room are basically additional classroom for flexibility. Thank you.
Thanks. So this is a typical classroom. It's modeled after, say, a 2nd or 3rd grade classroom, this particular one. And we know that there's a great need for storage. We heard that from the faculty. And at the same time, we know, because we work on schools, you want your storage to be functional and not sort of like a black hole where you end up storing half of the school and nobody ever goes to take it out. So we've had a lot of success with a nice, this is 15 feet of storage on a typical classroom wall in cabinetry. And we have other presentations where we get more into the furniture that's used, but we use this modular furniture which can be brought together to form tables, or you can pull it apart and have the kids sit in pairs. Every classroom will be fully technologically enabled. Everybody gets a smart board. We're going to have Wi-Fi throughout. We also have a lot of other, you can see some of the furniture on the window wall. Every classroom also has natural light. And we got to have a lot of parity. Everybody has sort of the same amount of natural light. But we're going to also install a lot of mobile storage in every classroom. And so this is just sort of a spin around of our model to show you the massing of the building and what it looks like. So starting on the upper left, you can see the entrance sort of funneling you in, and then this is what we consider to be the front of the building. And you can see the media center has some glass, and we have a stairway that's projecting, and then we just let the rhythm get established of the building. And then if you go over to the one on the upper right, it's the same facade, just from the north corner. And there's another stair here at the north corner where the little windows are, and then spinning around to the back. And this area is grass back here, so it won't really feel like the back, but it's maybe a little bit more private. And this is where most of the full-size classrooms are, and you can see they're regular, but we're breaking it up. I'll show you on the next page. We've got 2 colors of brick, and then the last one, the last image here just shows you the southwest corner, and you can see the gym is sort of at the forefront there, and the performance space is projecting, and there's a roll-up door that we're showing there now. As Mike mentioned earlier when he was presenting the site, we're looking at the potential to bring performances outside. It's something we've been talking about with the incoming principal. Good, thank you. And because the way the rendering, it looked a little bit gray to us because it's just the way that it comes out. And the brick that we're using, it's technically gray, but it's got a lot more to it than that. So we wanted to show you. So what we're looking at, sort of the projecting areas are this cream colored brick. And then the areas that are set back are this sort of, it's like a graphite colored brick, and it changes in the light, which is why you have, so each one of these pictures are the same 3 brick samples, but just to show you how when you move around the brick, the appearance changes. And the rougher brick here on the left, we would be using it for some detailing, sort of a stripe above the window or up high in the areas of the black brick.
I'd like to mention also, Lisa, that the color selection was really intended to be a gray or a series of grays of different tones, because we were trying to pick up on the concept of the natural sciences program that may be the teaching
Right, the theme.
theme. Thank you.
A theme of the school, but also, you're sort of teeing me up for the next slide, because this site is so you know, idyllic for kids, wooded, and it's just very pretty and it has this private feeling. And when we were looking at different site options, we're going to show you four different, building aesthetic options for some of our feature areas. We were really thinking about how is it going to feel when you're inside looking out. We want to have this feeling of that you're connected to the landscape. And so, I mean, this one is a view of the cafeteria, and we're getting this sort of a dappling of light effect with these glass blocks that could be inserted into the wall, something that we've used before. And it just looks very pretty from the inside and gives you lots of variants of light. And this one has light up high as well, and then brings it down in some slits for view. Could you take us to the next one, please? And this one introduces more glass. And then this is a louver system it's made of aluminum, but it's hyper realistic wood feeling. And it functions a little bit like a solar shade, but it gives us the opportunity to introduce more variety. And again, it'll filter the light in different ways from inside. So, but the idea isn't so much that the building is an object that you look at, but it's more that you're in it, you're experiencing the landscape from inside and outside. And the next one is a variant on that, which still has the louvers, but we started playing with varying the color of the glass as you go up. So, and we could look at different colors so that, you know, the idea isn't to turn anything inside a particular color, but you just have this variant of color that's outside and you're playing that up a little bit more. And this one would work with or without the louvers. So, and then this one is just more simple, like you're inside the space and you're looking out and you have the flow of the glass, but also we're bringing more wood inside the building. So this is a curtain wall system where the backing members are made out of this glue laminated lumber. So it really is, you know, that tactile feeling of wood. And we're still playing with ideas about this one. Could we double up some of the members and create a little bit more rhythm? But we have some other images that show the building with this. Could you go next, please?
And I think just with regard to each of these, Lisa mentioned it, but just to reiterate it, the idea is conceptually to place yourself in a forest and imagine what the light quality would look like. You know, how the verticals of the curtain wall might allude to glass to the trees. But we're also with the more glass that we're introducing, we're actually trying to tie the indoors and the outdoors more closely. You can see this early development of the plaza in the front of the cafeteria area as well is planted, and that's intended just to reinforce the already very natural nature of the site that we're working in.
Right. So that, yeah, the feeling that you have when you're in the school should be as good as the feeling that you have when you're on this great site. So this is another view of the entrance and the plaza, and you can see on the right, this is the admin wing, but that's that cream colored brick, and then you have some of the darker brick here, and then the entrance, you know, sort of leads you to itself just by virtue of the shape.
Lisa, the floor in the plaza there, is that concrete or some other material?
Well, I think on a first pass we were thinking about scored concrete, but it would be something with a little bit of texture.
We would probably try to avoid pavers only because of the maintenance aspects associated with those. Concrete usually is more durable and easier to maintain.
Right.
I should mention also too the concept of the glue laminated curtain wall would be used sparingly. The intent would be that it would be in potentially the cafeteria, and I think we have another slide here that shows
Right.
it in the media center. Those are the two sort of highlight spaces, if you will.
Right.
We would use more conventional glazing systems elsewhere.
Yeah, and actually, I would say 80% of the building has just these smaller unit windows. We have a couple of sizes. The typical one is 6 by 6. And we have, I think, 3 by 3 in the admin wing, and I think it's 2 by 2 in the stairs. So very simple. And
I just want to take this opportunity to say a couple more words. At this point, I think what we, how far we came, we, generally speaking, the building location is pretty much at this point, like a better word, decided in the sense that we look at the configuration, location, of existing building and site configuration. To add a new building, there really not too many choices. Well, no, there's no really choices available. Only two. One is in front where the parking lot is now, or where we're putting it. So after we consider that, the location, generally speaking, it's we have reached the decision that that's where it is. The second thing that we kind of narrowed down to is actually building interior layout, how the offices, cafeteria, and the gym and the classroom laid out. Went through different scenarios and through many discussions and meetings. Again, that's another thing that we, generally speaking, have decided. But the only thing is that we still have continued conversation about whether we change one of the room for potential music and soundproofing or location elevator and stuff like that. We are still continuing to evaluate. But generally speaking, the location of the placement of the activities, generally speaking, as shown in drawings. And I think this building, because it's 2-story and 1.5 story spaces, I think overall it's not like a rectangular building. It does have, in terms of massing, it has a lot of interest in it. It comes in and out and set back and 2-story and 1 story, 1.5. So there's a lot of movement in the massing of the building. And the site plan, we had looked at the site plan for a little while already, and I think we came up with this solution. It costs a little more money because the parent drop-off loop is pretty long, so it actually costs more money on paving and drainage. But we thought that it's a good benefit for the school in terms of addressing separation of parent drop-off and bus drop-off. So I think I think we have pretty much settled on the circulation. It's a very well organized. We had actually showed to Joanna already, Board of transportation person, and also I'm saying this to the city side, the traffic division, to just get their input. But they don't really dictate what we do, but at the same time we want to solicit their input. So those are the things that, generally speaking, we have feel very good about. The thing that we're working on, that's what we show everyone as option, is the building facades and the exterior treatment and all. So those are still things that we're looking at and continue to evolve. But I thought this is a good time to bring this to the Board of Education Facility Committee for your review and understanding where we are. We do have a building advisory committee set up, Collins on it, and also we have a common council member, as well as the principal, the interim principal, as well as the future principal, as well as teacher, parent, member of the parent group, and Frank is also on this committee. So we met, I think, twice, and then we have a smaller group with the principal. We've met probably like 4 or 5 times already, at least. And initially, there's a whole program phase that the architect and what we call a teacher and all. I think you guys have a group meeting once or twice already to get their input. So I think there's a lot of background work has been done to come up with what we have in front of us. I think I'm gonna stop now.
Your timing was perfect.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
Yes, that was perfect. So my question would be, I would like to see, you had mentioned that the music room could also be used as a classroom need be. Can I see that,
Yes. Let me just
please? Thank
get
you.
back to the floor plans here.
Yeah, that was an expression to us that typically we have one music room, but I think there was a band and other music. So we actually potentially using one of these rooms for multi-purpose. So again, I'm sorry, Lisa, if you can explain a little better.
No, sure. So yeah, this room sort of started off life as a 2nd grade classroom, but there's a desire to have more than one music space. So the space on the left is a near double height space, and that's the main music room for music classes. And it's one of our, on this plan, it looks landlocked, but because it's double heighted, it's going to have natural light coming in from up above. And then the second classroom to the right of it, it's located across the hall from 2nd grade, which helps for that. But we would have it be soundproof in accordance with requirements for a music classroom, and put deadening, sound absorptive panels on the walls. And we would set up this furniture, and I don't think it's there yet. I think it's set up as a second grade classroom still, but so that the furniture could conceivably be used for, I think it was band and strings, or for
Yes.
the second grade. And we'll look at possible different storage options, but I think that this second music room would lean on the main music room, which would house all the sort of more expensive things that we need to.
Mhm.
Lisa touched upon some of the features. One of the things we've learned from experience, and I think we'll incorporate here as well, is oversized doors. We find that particularly in music rooms, there's drums or things that are bigger than the 3.0 door. And with the soundproofing that's required for these rooms too, that the seals tend to project into the clear space of the opening. So these rooms will be outfitted, with those characteristics as well.
And a couple of things we look again in little details. Other thing that the principal asked for, I'm not sure we will be able to accommodate her or not, but we'll see. We're still looking at it. She wanted doors between the classroom. There's something we're evaluating, but the cost is quite a bit for one of these doors because they have to be soundproof. So we recognize her request, but at the same time, we haven't committed to doing that yet. So we need to figure out what the cost, whether at some point it's worth it or at some point it's not. The other thing is that we have made a big effort in creating that lobby. It's big, but at the same time, we thought that, we tried to maintain the hallways basic, but we thought that this is an opportunity to create a central space so that for public event and things like that, or it becomes a focal point of the school, because I think it's a great space, because it's not just you come in the building, it's a little lobby and that's it. This is give you an opportunity to express the building a little bit.
I think too, on that lobby, Alan, just it's hard to see in the plan, but the rendered images show it. We're envisioning that it's a story and a half, like the cafeteria. So again, you have the opportunity to have some light from above, coming in. It'll give the space, even more volume. And we've set it up so that, recognizing, budgetary constraints, if we needed to trim, the double height space back to reduce cost, we could. There's a series of reasonable structural grid lines that we could trim it back to and still have that sense.
And so I don't mean it. I'll say what I'm gonna say. I have instructed. That's a terrible word. The architect, when you look at the building exterior, I think I think the rest of the building facade would be, generally speaking, basic. But at the same time, the place we want to spend money on is really the front facade, where the cafeteria and the media center is, and where those are the facade that we're going to spend a little more money, because it's worthwhile. That's the main entrance to the building, and that's what the public see. The backside, generally speaking, is basic. It's nothing fancy, but it does have a lot of movement, jogging in and out. The other two things that come to mind is that the whole amphitheater thing, it's still a concept. I'm not sure I'm fully committed to do that yet. So we are in a conversation phase. And also the other thing the school has asked for, it's an outdoor classroom. And that's something I have on behalf of the city is committed to do, but there's we're still in discussion where it's going to be. There's discussion. I think the school wants it in the back, but and I thought it'd be great to be part of the plaza in the front because there's more visibility. But then we talk about security issues and stuff like that. So I'm not sure where we're going to ultimately end up to placing. The other thing was I think there was a garden piece to this outdoor classroom that we're looking at. So we are considering those things and try to integrate it into somewhere into the site. But those are things that are still being developed and discussed.
One quick question. So we're looking at the first floor, and it's pretty obvious that the size of the pre-K rooms are, above 1,000 square feet, which is typical for what the state's looking for. And then you have kindergarten at 900, and as you get into the grades, it gets into the upper 800s. When you look at the floor plan, is there any space on the floor here for opportunities to group kids in a unique space? I see, classrooms and dedicated spaces like music and art, but are there any spaces on this first floor that would allow for some combination of kids to get together to delve into something, in a different way.
Like a breakout space?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, the
We,
breakout space on the second floor, right? The older, for the older kids, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do have these smaller classroom spaces, I think, and the intent here was the recessed corridors provide for that. We have to be a little careful with this, Frank, because obviously if you have loose furniture or things that are obstructions, it becomes an issue for egress. But we have retained these in the upper levels, and even these somewhat shallow areas could still serve as an opportunity for small groups or potentially display of
Mhm.
artwork or information. Frankly, we've tried our best, and I think Lisa's done an excellent job of staying within the space standard. So we're just below the maximum square footage we're allowed, and unfortunately, corridors consume quite a bit of that. So we're trying to be judicious about the application.
I think if you go back on the first floor, that when we continue to develop the media center, it's going to have a variety of different kinds of spaces in it. And I also keep looking at the way that the lobby is developed. Mike pointed out the grid of columns that we have there. In certain places where when the ceiling drops, there are going to be sort of natural pull-off areas, and when we look at it more closely, we'll keep that in mind.
I just caught my eye here. What is the office there? The green little office that's 155 square feet.
Más any appointment, no cena. Okay.
That's a faculty office.
Okay.
There's one on the first floor and one on the second floor, and they're in your educational program. And I think when we presented them to the school, they were glad to see them, one on each floor, as I recall. And we didn't get into the mechanical core of the building is in the center of the building, which helps with runs and efficiency. We have a little bit of exterior storage there.
The lounge in the area between the kitchen and the cafeteria, is that for student dining or some other
Faculty dining.
faculty dining? Okay.
Right, and the cafeteria is set up with the two doors that are around the family toilet, which opens to the lobby, to help with queuing. So you would come in on one side and exit on the other side.
As we
A follow-up from what, oh, sorry, go ahead, Alan.
I'm sorry. Recently, the storage come out. Maybe the loading areas. I don't think we get that much loading space required. So maybe we can put a little more classes space in that area, because storage it's even paper storage and supplies and things or whatever. I guess we're probably like, I'm not sure where you put your trash in terms of like containers or whatever. So we got to
Yes.
look at that a little bit more. There's
Yes,
some space there that we can capture.
it's always a trade-off, and
Yeah.
as because you get a certain amount of square feet, and you want it to be.
Sure. Sorry, Collins.
No, it's okay. This is kind of a follow-up to what Frank was asking earlier, and this is always so much fun to see, these drawings at this stage here, kind of help us envision it. Frank was asking about sort of, kind of informal gathering places. And, my question now is just, do we have an opportunity with new construction like this to think about, or is there any way we can respond to some of the challenges we've had to navigate this year in terms of distancing and sort of fungible classrooms? Is there an opportunity to respond to any of that at this stage?
It's a challenging question because the state guidelines, the building codes, they haven't really caught up to pandemic design. We, as you're aware, the way school grants are provided, it's based on the size of the population and the age range of the school, and that's all the square footage you get. So I think if I may, though, we are doing some technical things like the improved filtration of the HVAC systems. One of the things that's was very heavily discussed during the pandemic and continues to be is HVAC systems. And we're inherently separating rooms. So rather than a whole swath of classrooms being served by the same mechanical equipment, it's actually broken up, in this particular, in modern mechanical system design. So that helps compartmentalize or segregate those classrooms. The flexible furniture, which is alluded to in the plan you're looking at now, also does provide for that some of that flexibility that you're looking for. I think the other aspect that was touched upon were these, we'll call them overflow or multi-purpose rooms, such as the music, the art, and then on the upper floors, the science and resource rooms. These could actually be outfitted as full classrooms with a lower population spaced and distant, in order to accommodate the distancing that was incorporated. Certainly technology is a big factor as well. And in many ways, we were pleased to see that most of the schools that we've worked on in the past several years have been able to effectively distance learn, at least from a technological standpoint. So this school would be no different than that as well. So it's a long-winded answer to your question. There are a number of things that are already, in play that will help anticipate future concerns. The biggest challenge, of course, is the extra space, and that's unfortunately limited by the funding that we receive.
I will say that we've seen how you're currently using your gym cafeteria at Jefferson as classroom and lunch space. And because we're separating those spaces, that actually does introduce a little bit of extra space for easing into those kinds of situations that we hope we're never in again.
Anyone else have any other questions? Because I'd like to step to the outside of the building for a second.
This is kind of related to the outside, Diana. And it's, I love the incorporation of all the glass elements. I love bringing the outside in and vice versa. What we recently looked, I think, was it Jefferson or Cranberry, where we looked at a design that incorporated a lot of glass, and the question of safety came up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And,
yeah.
I just want to make sure that that's kind of also being considered here, both in terms of the safety of the students, but also in terms of being able to manage sunlight in case it gets distracting, etc.
Definitely. Regardless of the scheme that we come up with for the exterior, we would incorporate specific standards that Norwalk has adopted. There are blackout shades that are required for all student occupied spaces, and those would obviously be incorporated. Lisa mentioned the ballistic level glass at the main entrance. There's also a requirement for, I think it's up to 6 feet above the grade, or 8 feet, would be break resistant glass around the perimeter. So, and I think I mentioned it before, but really and Alan, I think also mentioned it, we're trying to keep the flourishes of large expanses of glass localized, so that the classroom spaces and sort of the secondary facade elements would be smaller windows. And that's as much about cost as it is, about focusing on the primary facade.
The smaller windows, is it because of cost or safety?
The smaller windows are usually for spaces like toilet rooms and stairs, the very small windows.
And in the cafeteria where you're using blocks, there is access to get out in case of emergency. Because I guess for me, safety would be able to look outside at all times.
We would certainly have a lot of view. Let me go back to the floor plan. We do have exits provided in 3 locations for the cafeteria as well.
Hey, Michael, since we're on windows, I know we have discussed operable versus stationary. Have we come to a conclusion on that yet?
No, I don't think we have, Bill. I think, or maybe Alan
No, we haven't.
thinks differently.
We
Yeah,
have
we
not.
the design team has recommended fixed windows. There's a security component, but to that, as well as the ability to manage and maintain the environmental climate of the interior of the building based on the mechanical systems. The users and end users, and this is a frequently requested thing in almost every school we do, would prefer to have operable or some operable windows. I think that even though it seems counterintuitive, the operation of the window actually defeats their goal, which would be to bring in more air, because now the air is not being conditioned, it's not being filtered. But we may try to find a middle ground, I think, in that particular issue, Bill.
Let me go for this a little bit differently. All our mechanical system for new building is fully, we are utilizing outside air to the extent allowable by energy code. So we on the spring and fall day, we typically would be, probably generally speaking, it's called free air. It's basically 100% outside air. You don't have to heat it. At the same time, there's a minimum requirement for all building, whether it's a commercial building, office building, with minimum 10%. And I think here we had the capacity to 100% or 10%. We can't go lower than that. So regardless of what a occupant feels, the space in terms of air quality wise would meet requirement in a nice way. I mean, it would comply. But the problem is that when during flu season, the kids are sneezing and coughing and stuff, there's a psychological need to open windows. It's quite important in a sense, because it's a little more psychological, just that it just kind of needed that. So there's no right or wrong, but the problem is that today's building, it's fully controlled, computerized control, and fans and dampers and everything else. And once you open a window, you can't manage the building anymore. So the controls are thrown out of whack, and it's like, and then it's just affect the building operations. So from a design perspective, since the air is conditioned, 100% conditioned with outside fresh air, there's no need to open windows. Open window, you actually create more problems in terms of balancing the building. But it's very difficult message to express that to the occupants. We have the same problem in City Hall, not just schools, but it is very difficult to say that, well, I want to open a window, and then some pretty beautiful day, I want to open a window. You can't. You rely on the mechanical system. Isn't that using energy? So those debates goes on. So back to the question, have we decided? No, because operating window costs more money, but at the same time, it's a I also look at when the times the mechanical system has issues, and for spring day, it's not working well, you can't open the windows, and the system may not be supporting building properly at that point either. So those are all the things that we're looking at. So we haven't come up with a decision yet, but we are still considering the pros and cons.
So as I would take possession of this building when it's completed, and understandably, whether we decide on a fixed window, operational window, as the operator, I fully understand what Alan is saying. In that being, if there is a request to open a window and you can't, I am explaining and trying to educate the community that an outside air damper is open. That is the equivalent to opening up a window.
Right.
Well, that's hard to understand in layman's terms, but right. Understanding mechanical systems, I fully understand that. I have no preference personally, but if the decision is fixed windows, I know we have a solution around that, and everybody just really needs to understand from the beginning.
And I don't think that as much as the city, like about city and me as this person responsible for working with the Board of Ed on these buildings, ultimately this decision is really with there's a cost impact. We do operable windows, but at the same time is that it's really a conversation between me and Bill to see how he operates the building. Because after we finish, I'm gone, right? Generally speaking, I've been retired.
We'll never let you go, Alan.
But it's Bill is the one that ends up the building in his hands to manage and to operate. So that's something that that it's more of the Board of Ed / Bill's decision than mine as the on city part to build this building. Are we going too much in detail? Does everyone want to hear all this conversation? I don't want to take everybody too much time. But
Anybody else have any other questions or any other topics?
You know,
I do-
just,
Go ahead.
sorry, it comes up every time. And I noticed on the drawings earlier, I did not notice any solar panels on the roof. And I just want to make sure that we are, if it's possible, using renewable energy where we can.
We actually are looking into that, and Alan has specifically requested that we do a cost analysis for whether the city pursue it through a company, a vendor like Green Skies, or actually acquires the panels themselves. So this is a unique facility, I should mention also, in that it's entirely electric. Well, I'm sorry, we were considering going entirely electric with it. It's currently served with a oil-fired boiler, but there's no gas service available to the site because of its north. It's located north of the Merritt Parkway. So having the solar panels actually even becomes more important in terms of the energy consumption and use.
And I just want to add, every major renovation project we do with between the city and with Board of Education, we are requiring solar panel on the roof. That is one of our parameters. So when we did Ponis, the new wing, not the existing building, new wing, the lower school, is designed to be able to support structurally, because even though they light, there's still some structural evaluation. So the building design with the capability and the roof system, the design to take a solar system on the roof. And we actually put in all the conduits, and we also sized the electrical room big enough, as well as the location where all the switches will be located. So it'll be a direct connection to the main building switching gear. So it's all planned. Over there, like Ponis, the how it get implemented is because it's a lease system. So it's something that Board of Ed need to implement. So it's a lease agreement between Board of Ed and the solar provider, and we have that agreement executed once before for Narrowmix School, but the agreement being, in fact, I just got an email 10 minutes ago from the law department about the revising this agreement so that it's more workable from both sides. So the way that the Ponis works is that we will build a building, have everything ready, and the Board of Ed will sign an agreement with a vendor, and they will install it. And there's there's energy generated, and through the energy generated, you save money, but there's a payment to the company as a like almost like that service kind of thing. So 20 years. On this project, Cranberry, I'm having a little different perspective on this. I'm thinking potentially we would put the solar system as part of the capital project. So we actually put it in when we build this building. There's a difference here. Leasing it, because when you go private sector and leasing it from a private sector, they can take advantage of tax credits, so which reduces the cost. So that's why it's cost effective. On the other hand, when city does it as a capital project, there's no tax credit for a city, but at the same time, there's potential of reimbursement from the state. So I need to do a financial evaluation to see whether there's a financial benefit for us to do it as part of capital project, or to do as a lease system afterward by the Board of Education.
And Alan, as we know, we are looking at the same example at Jefferson as well.
Jefferson also, right. So when we finish renovation in Jefferson, you will not see a solar panel, but there will be a proposal in front of the Board of Education to sign a lease agreement with Green Skies right now, but potentially we will go to different vendors for agreement to install the panel. So we would do everything, get everything ready for, in fact, the structural existing building was analyzed so to make sure that we can support a solar system already.
And
so
strengthened.
That's the component of our design. And additionally, for every project we do, the engineering team, mechanical engineer, were required to provide with an evaluation of all the energy options. So CES, who's a mechanical consultant, is preparing a report to us. We had discussions about this like twice already, and look at different mechanical system as well as energy system. So we look at geothermal, we look at solar, and we look at type of mechanical system and how much energy you use, and also how well we're going to design the building envelope for energy efficiency. And I think that would be a report. I think that's going to be presented to the Land Use and Building Management Committee, I think the April 7th. So we're going to have a further discussion about what option we're looking at and what option is being recommended.
Thanks, Alan. That's great to know.
Okay, thank you. Frank, do you have anything?
No.
Is Frank still?
All set on this. Thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, thank you everyone for the presentation, very detailed. And thank you for your time for this evening.
Thank you.
So,
I'm going to stop sharing the screen at this point. Thank you.
okay, thank you. I will pass it now over to Jonathan Gombetz to discuss the Merrimack Elementary School.
So for
I'll
item
sign
number,
off. Thank you.
Thank you.
so for item number 4,
For,
we are here tonight to, and we've shared with you the drawing specifications and estimate for the FF&E portion of the Merrimack project. So a few weeks ago, we went over the construction aspects, and this is basically the fixtures and furniture aspect. And Mike Lasasso, who was talking earlier about Cranberry, is also working on this project. So if we have any questions on what we provided, we will need a few forms signed by some people on this board for this item. So, any questions?
I don't have any. Colin?
None for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so just so you remember, this this document, the SCG 042 for the FF&E, will need to be presented to the full board for approval. And John, what meeting or what date is that?
That's the 20th of next month.
Of April, okay,
April 20th?
Finance committee, yeah.
correct.
And the furniture package is very small because all we do is provide furniture for the cafeteria. Correct me. I mean, are we using old tables because they're pretty new actually?
Yeah,
Old
no,
Existing.
We
We
have-
have old table, existing tables.
There's 2 accessible tables added, Alan, but the cafeteria tables are being reused, and the majority of furniture is actually for the learning lab that we're adding.
Okay, so it's not a huge purchase. It's a small package.
Correct. The budget is within our original planned budget from the beginning.
Okay.
To me.
Frank, you're good too?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so I think we did 4 and 5
Yeah, 5, there's no action required for number 5.
and 6. Who's gonna speak on the miscellaneous projects updates?
I can speak on that. I was going to share my screen if I can find, there it is. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Hopefully you see the right item. Is it Norwalk School Construction Program?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you. So I'll walk you through Ponus Ridge. We are in the closeout phase of this project, working with Newfield Construction to finalize the finances of this project. We're anticipating to complete the closeout this coming summer. So we will be bringing to you some documentation and some requirements of the Board of Ed that will have to accept the project as complete. Again, we anticipate doing that this summer. It's a requirement of the state to close out the project before we can submit our final request for reimbursement. And the Jefferson School, since Mike Fienza is not with us this evening, I'll handle that. As many of you are aware, we did start construction on Jefferson School. We removed the portables. We did some required tree removal and anticipate starting foundation for the new gymnasium next week.
Jim, I was just there like an hour ago. Oh, there's a hole in the ground already.
Oh, jeez. Okay, it's moving a little bit faster than I
Yeah,
thought.
it's moving along pretty well.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to get out in the field a little bit more. Cranberry, Jonathan, can you take this?
Wait,
Yeah,
just
so-
talk a little bit for Jefferson so everybody understand. So in terms of schedule, we are starting construction. The school right now is still being occupied by, I think it's silver mines in there, but with the new regulations, we don't know where it's, but we anticipate to take over the building after the spring semester. So right now we're doing the work in the back. We're excavating for the green portion of the building, which is the gym right now. And then as soon as the end of this semester, we're going to take over the entire building. So, and then first thing we're going to do a remediation work. And then from then on, we're going to start to renovate. It's called renovation new. So generally speaking, the building is completely gutted. Everything is going to be new in the building. It's good for the next 25, 30 years minimum, whatever it is. Because mechanical system usually lasts around 20 to 25 years. So, but the building overall will be, generally speaking, a new building inside. And we're looking to finish this building in August of next year so that Jefferson can move back into this building. In terms of enrollment, the part of the whole enrollment strategy of creating more space is we built Pomus Lower School and Jefferson moved in there. Now we can renovate Jefferson. So after we renovate Jefferson is the time that the city overall is actually gaining the seats in elementary enrollment shortfall, whatever it is. So this by next summer and so September next year, it's a significant day for the community because we actually gained 450 seats. So right now we're just maneuvering. All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Jonathan Cranberry.
So for Cranberry, as you saw earlier, we are in the schematic design. We just wrapped that up. We currently, the project management team of Newfield is working on a budget. So they're asking a few questions and putting together some pricing. And we're meeting with the state of Connecticut April 6th to go over a schematic design review with the state of Connecticut. Conversations with the local departments are going on with the fire department, health, and traffic to kind of solidify our design at this point.
Okay, great. And Merrimack.
We met with the state of Connecticut last week for the scheduled PCR meeting. We have a follow-up meeting next Monday at 10 o'clock. Hopefully at the conclusion of that meeting, we get the approval to go out to bid and get pricing for the trade contractors and put together a GMP to review at the time of the city.
Very good.
And completion of that project will be probably in November this year, right?
Correct.
Norwalk High School, as some of you know, and Diana, you were on the architect selection committee, and thank you for your service for that. Hopefully you found it interesting.
Yeah, I was on it too, Jim, but thanks.
You're off camera, Colin. You were off camera. I'll try and help Jim out a little.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
detailed.
Right now I have limited view since I'm sharing my screen. Yes, Colin, you were on that. I apologize for that. Thank you for the reminder.
Hey, I was on it too.
Now Alan's going to chime in.
And Bill Hodel is the next person.
I'm not.
thank you all for your participation in the architect selection process. We are in the.
Why everybody's so proud of yourself? You know, it's we have to do another one for construction managers.
That's right.
So, but I'm not gonna hit you guys with it because it just it's a little bit more specialized. So I got to figure out different folks for that because it's I got to find people that, you know, unless you're involved in construction on stuff like that, or design architects or engineer, I'm not going to ask your help. But there's another set of interview coming up. But you know, hey.
All right. So yeah, we issued the RFP on Monday to those architectural firms that we invited to participate in the RFP process. We are scheduled to receive the responses back on the 31st. Alan and I will go through those responses to make sure they're complete and include all of the scope required. And then make the presentation to the Land Use Committee on April 7th. We have started the construction management process, selection process as well. We issued the RFQ on the 15th. We actually had a pre-proposal meeting this afternoon at the site. And we are anticipating to go to land use with a recommendation for CM services on June 2nd. So things are moving along, and hopefully we'll start the design and programming process very shortly. New Columbus, still discussions with Board of Ed. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow to discuss this in more detail and hopefully finalize a program and begin to move forward with it. And the old Columbus or Norwalk Global Academy obviously is contingent on how the new Columbus project moves forward. Any questions?
No.
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
So everyone's all set, no questions? Good?
Yes, and we have no public comments for tonight.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for all your time.
Yes,
This was
thank
a
you.
very detailed meeting. Thank you. And Colin, motion to adjourn?
Well, we didn't have a quorum, so yes, I think we can adjourn.
You mean all that?
We're all good. Well, thank you, everyone.
Really good
And Bill
information.
still
Thank
lost at sea.
you. We'll have a full board again by next week, hopefully.
Yes,
Very good.
hopefully.